All set, John?
Did a hell of a job.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the December 13th, 2023 Board of Education meeting to order at 7 p.m. Please stand for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Showers, second, Mr. Foote. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next, we will begin the election process of all of our board officers. We will start with the vote for a temporary board chair. We will then move to vote for a permanent board chair, a permanent vice chair, and a permanent secretary, in that order. This evening, due to circumstances out of our control, Ms. Lucian is virtual into our meeting. Based on the July 1st, 2021 executive order that addressed virtual meetings during the pandemic, Section 1-225A of the Connecticut General Statute, letter D, states any vote taken at a meeting during which any member participates by means of electronic equipment shall be taken by roll call unless the vote is unanimous. The minutes of the meeting shall record a list of members that attend in person and a list of the members that attend by means of electronic equipment. So this evening, all of our votes for the elected positions, even if they're unopposed, will be done through a roll call fashion. Do any board members have any questions about our elections this evening? With that, I'd like to open up chair.
I'd like to nominate Cindy Lawrence-Anthony.
Second.
Cindy was nominated by Mr. Showers and seconded by Karen Colessa. Do I have any additional nominations?
Make a motion nominations be closed.
Second.
That was my next line, but thank you. A motion to close the nominations by Mr. Perugino, and second was Mr. Foote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. At this time, I will call for a roll call vote for the temporary chairperson. Mr. Showers,
Yes.
Ms. Tilton,
Yes.
Mr. Foote,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman,
Yes.
Ms. Colessa,
Yes.
Ms. Lucian.
Yes.
Cindy, you can vote for yourself, so I'm coming to you next.
Yes.
Mr. Perugino,
Yes.
Mr. Zabushka.
Yes.
9 votes were cast in favor of Mrs. Candrancia for it. You know what?
Takes us some time.
I practiced that all day long, and that was my biggest stress. And I'm like, I'm not going to mess it up. But I did. And so with that, you are now the temporary chair, and you will now organize and run the election of the permanent board chair, vice chair, and secretary position.
Do we feel a need for a caucus?
Yes.
I would like to entertain a motion to go into caucus. The Republicans will go into the high school principal's conference room. The Democrats will caucus in the room adjacent to the cafeteria. I would like,
So moved.
I didn't read the time, 7:04 p.m. At 7:04 p.m.,
So moved.
Karen, and then a second,
Second.
Pat. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passed.
Okay.
I'd like to entertain a motion to reconvene after caucus at 7:21 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. I'd like to elect nominations for a permanent board chair. Any nominations for permanent board chair?
I nominate Walt Seaman.
Madam Chair, I respectfully decline that nomination at this time.
Any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Karen Kalesa for chairman of the Board of Education.
I second that.
Any other nominations? With there being no further nominations, I'd like to make the following motion. I'd like to entertain a motion,
Have
Um,
to roll call vote.
I'd like to
She's
do a
got
roll
both
call vote.
nominations.
You gotta close it first, I'm sorry.
Oh, I do close it?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to close nominations for the president of the chair of the Plymouth Board of Education.
So moved.
Second. Any discussions?
Who was second?
Pat did.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? At this time, I'd like to call a roll vote. Mr. Showers?
Yes.
Ms. Tilton?
Yes.
Mr. Foote?
Yes.
Mr. Seaman?
Yes.
Kalesa?
Yes.
Ms. Lucian?
Yes.
Cindy? Candrea, yes. Mr. Perugino?
Yes.
Mr. Zabuska?
Yes.
There's 9 of us? 9 votes were cast for Karen. Karen was elected the permanent chair by the Plymouth Board of Education.
Okay,
Congratulations.
thanks. All right, I would like to open up nominations for the election of vice chair.
I nominate Walt Seaman.
So I have a second.
I'll second.
Second.
Are there any other nominations?
I'll nominate Kelly.
Do I have a second?
Sure.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lou. Any other nominations? I'd like to entertain a motion to close nominations for vice chair of the Plymouth Board of Education.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. We are going to have a roll vote. I'm assuming we roll vote for each person. Is that how we do it?
Yes, you have to say the name.
Okay, so at this time, we will have a roll vote for Mr. Seaman to be board vice chair. Mr. Showers,
Yes.
Ms. Tilton,
No.
Mr. Foote,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman,
Yes.
Ms. Kalesa is a yes. Ms. Lucian,
Yes.
Mrs. Candrea Florentiani,
Yes.
and Mr. Perugino.
No.
So we have,
Wait,
oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Zabushka, I messed you on the bottom here. Sorry about that.
No.
No. 9 votes were cast, and there were 6 yeses and 3 nos. Is that correct? Okay. Do we have to do this second roll call since? No, so this is, it. Okay. So, Mr. Seaman, elected vice chair for Plymouth Board of Education. I'll be looking forward to working with you yet again.
Yes.
Okay, we are going to go ahead and move on to nominations for the election of secretary of the Board of Education.
I'd like to nominate Michelle Lucian.
Second.
Any other nominations for secretary? Any other nominations? There being no further nominations, I would like to entertain a motion to close nominations for secretary of the Plymouth Board of Education. Pat, and second, Greg, Dick. Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so motion, nominations are closed. At this time, we will have a roll call vote for Michelle Lucian as secretary of the Plymouth Board of Education. Mr. Showers?
Yes.
Ms. Tilton?
Yes.
Mr. Foot?
Yes.
Mr. Seaman?
Yes.
Ms. Colessa is a yes. Mrs. Lucian?
Yes.
Mrs. Candrea Florenciani?
Yes.
And Mr. Perugino?
Yes.
And Mr. Zabuska?
Yes.
9 votes were cast for Michelle, and she was voted in unanimously. Congratulations, Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this time, I would like to call for, do we need to have a recess?
Want to switch seats?
Well, we don't have to.
It's okay.
Yeah, can we just stay where we are?
That's fine.
Are we good? Everybody good with that? Staying where we are? Good, okay. All right, so let's just move on so we don't have to recess. Okay, item number 6, approval of minutes. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of November 8th, 2023.
So moved. Second.
I have a question on the minutes.
Sure.
On the third page, excuse me, under Roxanne Perugino, 82 Elm Street, Terrible, Connecticut summary, you look at the line down here, it says, if a new playground is needed, the cost can be up to $25,000. That figure should be $250,000, if I remember correctly.
We'll take a look into that.
Okay. Anything else? Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I abstain because I was not at that meeting. Item number 7, presentation and energy update from Mr. Sancho.
Okay, good evening, and thank you for allowing me to present our energy conservation program and what we've done this year. The first couple slides are from previous presentations, but I thought there was, I know the board has seen those, but I thought there might be people from the general public that hadn't. What our mission was and what our goal. Mission was to change unintentional waste of energy to intentional conservation. And our goal was to reduce our use by 25 to 30% from a base year of 2008. We put together an energy plan. It was a pyramid. We have to start with energy conservation, what we wanted to do, work into efficiency, and then into renewable energy. Those were the building blocks that we put together when we started the plan. The building blocks, what we did were on our energy conservation was basically turning off lights and turning off equipment when it's not in use, and to concentrate on heat transfer, hot to cold. That hot to cold is a big item. In the wintertime, cold is trying to come into the warmth. In the summertime, the heat is trying to go into the cold. So we also, the second step was our efficiency. We changed T12 bulbs to T8 bulbs to LED bulbs. We put in dual source burners so we could take advantage of the natural gas prices. They're installed in all schools now. And we took advantage of grants and incentives. The last was renewable energy, and we entered into a purchase power agreement with Con Ed and installed solar arrays in the on all the schools. There's one large one out here in the field out adjacent to the high school, and other arrays on the other 3 facilities. I'm gonna take and concentrate on energy, on electrical energy. That is, all three of our, when we look at oil, we take and, convert, therms to oil, because that's what we started with. We started with oil, and it would just get really messy if we didn't convert it over. So you'll see that there's oil, and there's natural gas, and there's electricity. Electricity is our biggest contributor to our expenses. All of them are equal, but electricity takes takes the number one spot in what we're paying for. This last year, we took and produced with our solar array 1,402,000 kilowatt hours, and we used 1,352,000 kilowatt hours. So there's a significant reduction. Actually, we're producing more power than we're using with our solar arrays right now. About 1.3% more than we are, 103% more than we're using. Unfortunately, we can't use all of that because we can't store it, so we're selling it back to Eversource. But we are, we've made great, I think we've made great headways. Our kilowatt hours right now are, our cost per kWh is about 17 cents per kilowatt hour. In the United States, the average is 16.2%, so we're just a little bit over the average of the United States. In Connecticut, if you look at your bill, our rate is 29.5%, or 29.5 cents per kilowatt hour. So we are significantly lower. Like I said before, our cost is about 49% of our budget. We've spent so far this year, we've spent $231,000, almost $232,000 on electricity, out of a total cost of energy of $477,000, almost $478,000. So we're making significant changes, some headway. In 2010, our cost per kilowatt hour was 19, almost 20 cents a kilowatt hour. This year here, it's 17. So that's what I want to concentrate on. And taking a look at what our program, what our database does, in the next slide here, you look at our monthly summary for 2022. Jack Wolf said, former chairman of General Electric, says if you don't measure something, you can't change it. You don't know what you're talking about if you don't measure it. So we look at, I try and look at what we did in 2022. We had a cost savings of $196,000. And if the next slide here shows what we spent it on. I hope you can see it. I should have made it probably a little bit bigger. But anyway, our electric, like I say, I'm concentrating on the electric because that's our biggest consumer, our biggest expense. Our expected use was 2,073,000 kilowatt hours, and we actually used 1,353,000 and change. So it's an avoidance of about 34.5%, and the cost was avoided by about 32%. Yeah, 32%. It's 32.3. So we really did pretty well in 2002. So what you do is, because you take and use Mr. Welch's philosophy, you have to measure things. we looked at 2023, and we saw that our total savings was $178,000, which is still over our goal of 30%, 25 to 30%. It's up around 32%. So we're doing well, but it also allows us to take and see that there's room to improve. We can make some changes without real. It's going to be some sacrifices, but it's not going to cost us dollars and cents to sacrifice it. It's going to be, well, I guess it is in the long run because it's going to be time, but we can make some changes. This year here, the first 10 months of the year, we have a savings of $178,000, which is good. It's 32%. It's down a little, couple percent from the previous year, but that's because of Mother Nature and the way we use the buildings and whatnot. Our Achilles heel, if you want to call it, is the summer months. We do well in the wintertime and the shoulder months, March, April, and May, and October, September, October, November. In the summertime, we struggle. And you can see here that our cost avoidance for Eli Terry this last summer in June, July, and August was 6.4%. Fisher School was 37.5% cost avoidance. Plymouth Center was 49% cost avoidance. And Terryville High School was 8.1%. So you can see that there's a significant difference between the buildings that have modern day HVAC and the ones that just use regular old no air conditioning or windows, you know. So opportunities. June, July, and August, like I said before, have historically been months where we see the smallest cost avoidance in facilities with the ability to cool the facility. EPA takes EPA settings and run times. They suggest that AC settings to be between 74 and 78 degrees during the occupied times. Now this is something we have to change how people perceive being cool. Yeah. Being cool is not at 60 degrees or 65 degrees. It's a matter of reducing the amount of humidity that's in the atmosphere. And they suggest that 84 degrees during unoccupied times, and to cool the buildings during the cooler times of the day. Bring the temperatures down to 74 or 78 degrees when the temperature is cooler, and then let the building creep back up. Actually, out in Minnesota, they use a program that's called Toast and Coast. In the wintertime, they heat their buildings to 74 to 78 degrees. Once the building gets to that level, they actually bring it down to unoccupied levels and let the building cool. And when it comes back down, they build it back up again to save energy. And these are information that you can use in your home also. You don't want to take and reduce your temperature any more than 20 degrees from the outside temperature. It's just not doing anything for you. All it's doing is wasting money. So, and opportunities continued. Adjusting the run times, it's going to increase increase time. It's hard to do it. These here facilities, it's not like turning your air conditioner down to 68 degrees from 74 degrees. These here facilities here have sophisticated equipment, and it's all based on outside air. So you can't just say, okay, we're gonna take and turn the chiller down to 74 degrees. You actually have to do some programming in it, so it's time consuming. It's gonna take personnel away from doing something else. But it's an opportunity that we may or we may not want to take and look at. But you can see from a previous slide that the buildings that have limited air conditioning, Plymouth Center and Fisher, have a significant cost savings. So the two facilities, Plymouth Center and Fisher, that had limited, showed an average 42% cost avoidance, and compared to an average of 7% during July and August for Eli and Taylorville High School. And the last slide here is just, whoops. Okay, oh, I may not have had it. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't give, but CNET, it's a media that you can go on your computer, and it gives you some information on, it says, it's entitled, Yes, There's an Ideal. I apologize for reading it, I should have had a slide, but it's in your packet. Yes, there's an ideal temperature to set your thermostat at. You can use this at your home also, not only here for what makes 68 degrees Fahrenheit the best temperature for winter. It's on the lower end of the comfort indoor temperature for some people, but there's a good reason to keep your home cooler. When your home is set to a lower temperature, it'll lose heat more slowly than if the temperature were higher. In other words, keeping your home at a cooler indoor temperature will retain the heat longer and reduce the amount of energy you have to keep your house comfortable. In the summer, a misconception, like I said before, is setting your air conditioner to a lower than normal temperature will cool your home faster. Actually, an air conditioner, like I said before, will only cool your home 15 to 20 degrees cooler than the outside temperature. Any other setting will not cool your home anymore and result in unnecessary high expenses. A higher interior temperature setting in the summer will slow the flow of heat into your home. So it's down to our basic science program that we teach in our kids. It's heat transfer. And I got tip my hat to our maintenance department. They've done an outstanding job. There's some opportunities, I think, in the summertime where if we could take and change the temperature settings and get our philosophy down that being cold is not comfortable. If we can take and be comfortable at a higher temperature, we can save some money. And if we can actually turn these here units off or significantly lower them, we can take and save some money. There's programs that they've done out in the Midwest where they've gone to 410 operations, and so they can shut down their buildings a third of the time and save significant amount of money. But it takes time. It takes people. I mean, it's not going to cost us anything to capital outlays, but it's going to make some changes. Thank you, and my hat's off to this here board and the staff, especially the maintenance department for what they've done. They've done an outstanding job. Our savings over the last 14 years is over $3 million.
It's great.
Marty, I have a question. When you were talking under building blocks, the renewable energy purchase power agreement, is it Con Ed, Consolidated Edison?
Yeah, it's Con Ed. It started out with FOS, and then they put it in, and they sold it over to Con Ed, and now we're selling our energy, or buying energy from them from Con Ed.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Marty, I was here when you started this program back in the day, and you started with light bulbs and
Yeah.
couldn't see down the halls, and I begged them to put them back on, and we've come such a long way with the new lights and the heating and everything else, and the work you've done here has been remarkable, because like you just said, it's been $3 million worth of savings to the public in supporting our schools, but that money also goes back to our schools and the town. So the work you've done has been remarkable. So thank you very, very much. And I'd love to have you come to my house and speak to my wife and children about the heat and the air
As soon as I
conditioning.
can convince my wife that 74 degrees is comfortable, I'll come to your house.
Well, that's what Pat Hickory said.
I'm not sure.
I'm
I'm
not
not sure
turning the
I'm
air
buying
down in
that
the
here.
summer. Don't think of it. So.
All right, any other questions? Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Sancho.
Thanks, Marty.
All right, item number 8, student representatives. Jacob, would you like to start us off?
All right, so the winter concert for the high school band was on Monday, December 11th, and Mr. Keene noted that there was a noticeably larger audience than last year due to the size of the band being bigger, and probably also because it's just that time of the year where it's winter and there's not much to do. So I think a lot of people thought it'd be a nice way to spend the night, you know. And since all the marching events had been canceled, Mr. Keene had devised a marching routine to give the band a chance to make up for this missed opportunity. And I would say that it did in part. And we're also planning to do a mini in-school concert next Thursday on the 21st. And I think will be a good idea to show the students the progress that the band has made so far this year. And the Academic Bowl, I participated at the second Charter Cup at UConn on Saturday, December 9th. And we were 14th out of 18 teams, which may not seem like much, but it was an improvement compared to last year, in which we were 9th out of 10. And we were able to double our win total this time. So that was another positive aspect. And we used our performance as a learning tool to analyze our mistakes and help us avoid them in the future. And the CPR training program that we mentioned last time has been approved by Mr. Holtz, and it is now set in motion. And it will be a certification session that will be available after school in the spring. And the freshman class held a movie night on Friday, December 8th. And it was free admission, and snacks and beverages were being sold. And they showed Home Alone for the movie. And they had a good turnout, and it was able to benefit the freshman class.
Great, thank you. Mark?
Hi, everyone. Winter sports kicked off this week. The girls won their first basketball game this Tuesday, 45-25. The leading scorer was Avery Owens with 21 points and 18 rebounds. The boys basketball team will start their season on Friday. Unified Buddies, which I had mentioned last meeting, is a organization here in the high school that's supporting children or supporting students of all abilities, and are hosting a holiday event this Friday. There's supposed to be about 10 to 25 students from both Thomaston High School and Terryville High School. We're hoping it's going to be as successful as the one we did last month, and right now it looks like it's going to be a great time. Seniors hosted a game night on December 1st. That was a variety of board games, athletic games, and video games. I was there. There was a good turnout from a lot of people in the community, and it was a great way to build bonds with fellow seniors. Finally, the district encouraged students to wear PJs in order to support the Connecticut Children's Medical Center. The district showed up. A majority of students were wearing their pajamas, and the National Honor Society here at the high school raised over $130.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to, does anybody have any questions for our student representatives?
When they're done, tell them they can go in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You guys have that.
You're welcome to stay, but you may go if you have important studies. All right, moving on to item number 9, public comment.
Matt Kizakowski, 45 Fountainhead Road. Many districts look at turning systems on and off to save on electricity and costs. I give one cautionary thing from building science perspective. All materials have different coefficients of expansion and contraction. Whenever you're increasing and decreasing the amount of temperature swings in the building, you're putting more stresses on materials where they meet. The biggest demon of all buildings is, of course, condensation. So if the board or the facilities do move forward with looking at potentiality of adjusting, there needs to be a way of monitoring for any issues of condensation. We don't want to end up with sick building syndrome with any of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you just is there a sign-in sheet up there?
Yes.
Just so we have it for the
Sure.
record. Thank you very much.
Anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to item number 10, superintendent's update.
Thank you very much. As you all know, we are utilizing the Raptor security screening system in all of our schools. This system scans driver's license as you enter as a visitor, and it informs us if you are on the registered sex offender list. We scan the licenses, and if there is a concern, our administrative team has worked out a protocol where they would be addressing the concerned issue in place. No one else would be addressing that issue. But again, I want to clarify, this is a new process we're using. Other schools use this as well, but we are just checking. We're not doing a thorough background check when people walk in. It basically just tells us if that person is on the registered sex offender list. So I want to make that clarification because there has been some information out there about the Raptor system. There are components that can buy a more thorough background check on the individuals when their license is put in, but we do not purchase that and we do not utilize that. It's just that one component we're looking at for our visitors. We're having some concerns during our pre-K drop-off and pickup times at Plymouth Center. This is not a new issue to the district and to our school. We started by looking at solutions and having drop-off and pickup be on Altier Drive, and that didn't really work well with the snow and the ice, and it got dangerous, and so we moved it back on campus into the parking lot. And we also have staggered times for our pre-K and K through 2 students in that school. The problem comes to the parents have little ones that need to get in 5-point harnesses, so the parents need to park their cars. So in working to create a more organized pickup at Plymouth Center, we found ways to add a few parking spots. We've assigned teachers parking spaces. We've worked with the Plymouth Police Department to put up some temporary no parking signs on the streets. And we've also considered putting some temporary speed bumps in the parking lot to slow some people down when they're driving through the parking lot. Our hope is that these measures resolve the pickup and drop-off times at Plymouth Center, but I will keep you updated on those changes and the impact on the arrival and dismissal there. As a reminder, prior to our next board meeting on January 10th, I've scheduled a Board of Education retreat. During that retreat, our district's attorney, Richard Mills from Shipman and Goodwin, will be here to train and work with the board on items related to your roles and responsibilities as board members. I've been asked by numerous members of the public if this retreat and workshop is open to them. It is open to the public, but the public will not have an opportunity to make comments or ask questions during that meeting. It is a board meeting, but you do have the right to come, sit, and observe. At our January board meeting, Mr. Tenza and myself will be presenting the proposed 2024-2025 budget to the board. We plan on holding budget workshops throughout January and February to answer questions, to make the appropriate adjustments the board feels fit and necessary. Just as a reminder, the town charter tells us that we are required to adopt and submit a budget to the Board of Finance by February 28th. Also related to the budget, the board's last public communication over the possibility of closing Fisher Elementary School stated that we would relook at the situation and start discussing it again possibly after the holidays. I'd like to make the recommendation to the board that we hold off discussions with regard to any closure of any school until after our budget has been presented and adopted by the town. These two items are very time consuming, and we have to give 100% of our attention and focus to both the budget and that conversation. And so if the board agrees, I ask for permission to formally communicate with the public with regard to that decision right after the new year, to let them know that we will push this off probably till the end of March, beginning of April, where we could possibly have and entertain another conversation with regard to the school closure. I would like to congratulate our very own Matt Tenza, as he's one of 16 business managers, and that's a rough estimate, in Connecticut, who has met the requirements to be a certified administrator of school finance and operations. Matt is going to explain what that means when he gives his report. But I would like to congratulate him. That is an honor, and it was very difficult to achieve that task. I would also like to thank Remy Ferreira for being our Town Council Board of Education liaison. Thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for being our liaison. And finally, I'd like to remind everyone that Friday, not February, I wish, but Friday, December 22nd, will be a half day of school, and we'll have an early dismissal, and the district will be closed for winter break from Monday, December 25th through Monday, January 1st. And on behalf of the entire Plymouth school community, happy holidays and enjoy your time off.
That brings us to item number 11, new business, which is also you, Mr. Falcone.
So, as Lisa said, we delivered a tree to her house with the packet of paper that you have in your hands. This is, as we talk about, our attorneys send us recommended revisions to our policies when legislation changes and or there have been adjustments in the state. And so what you have in front of you are a number of revisions that they recommended that I've tweaked and made appropriate to our district. And this would be the first read of those policies. What I did for you in this packet, and that you'll see off of some requests from the past, is you'll see the top page that has all of the policies that have been modified and or the new policies. I highlighted the ones I recommend you take an extra look at because those have significant changes, and I can go over those policy changes with you now if you'd like. The others have been tweaked based on legislation. There hasn't been significant changes, but there's also a summary page that kind of gives you a summary of what the changes were in each of those policies, and that I believe is on colored paper. So that will help you see what the changes are in the policy, so you don't have to read through everything. It gives you a summary from Shipman and Goodwin on what those changes were. But the highlighted policies that I think are important are the high school graduation requirements. The change that happened there is that we have to add a half credit of personal finance for the class of 2027. So that is a new requirement. So you'll see our current graduation requirements, and then they shift in 2027 to have that half-year personal finance requirement. Right now in our high school, we offer a quarter year of personal finance, so we're gonna have to make some adjustments on our end to meet that requirement. You also have the completion of the free application for federal student aid form, which is the FAFSA. There is a new graduation requirement, and it is legislation that we are to do our best to have students fill out the FAFSA as a graduation requirement. If they don't fill it out by March 15th, with us trying to work with their parents and the students, there is a waiver that will be filled out by the parent and the student and the school that will allow the students to graduate. But that is a new policy that is based on legislation as well. But that's important because it impacts our graduation as well. Homework. I had the high school administration and teachers come forward with a concern about our homework policy. We have assigned 15 minutes per academic class, and it included reading and studying. They asked for it to exclude reading and studying because they felt it was really tying their hands with the amount of homework or studying or reading they can give kids on a daily basis. And so it seemed very fair to Mr. Holtz when he came forward to me with that. And so that was an adjustment we made to the homework policy. And then as we spoke about in an earlier meeting, the kindergarten start date has been adjusted through legislation, moving from January 1st as a birth date to start kindergarten to September 1st. And we talked about the impacts, and we'll talk about that a little more in the meeting down the road. But those are the main ones I think the board should take a look at and focus on for their first read, and hopefully we could have a second read at our next meeting.
Any questions for Mr. Falcone? Okay, we're moving on to item number 12, board member committee reports. Mr. Tenza.
Thank you. First item I will talk about tonight is the 2023-24 budget update. As I mentioned in the Finance Committee meeting earlier, this is going to be similar to what I reported last month. We continue to spend at the expected rates, and as you can see by the reports that you have in your packet, we spent a slightly slower rate in November than in November of 2022. And as I said, but I just signed off on a stack of invoices for December, so I'm sure we caught right back up. There are a couple of concerning accounts for us, but overall I expect us to be on target for the end of the year. I am going to talk to you about the security grant that I mentioned at the last meeting. We were awarded $250,350 for an upgrade of our security camera system. This is a reimbursement grant, which means that we would pay for the work up front, and then we would receive 71.43% back to the district. And I am seeking permission to move forward with this grant. My recommendation at this point is to request funding from our sinking fund, which has those funds in it, to pay for the work as we go along, and then we would redeposit the reimbursements right back into it. So by doing so, we would not impact the operating budget, and we would receive the much needed security improvements for our camera system, which is 5 to 10 years old. Those that are working, we do have a number that are no longer working. And it's a frequent conversation with the superintendent, our principals, and us. We also received a technology grant for $79,002 to purchase Chromebooks for the district. So we have taken advantage of that grant, so it will offset the cost of the Chromebooks that we have purchased for this year, which will help offset some of the budget deficit accounts that I mentioned I had some concerns about. But I just wanted to make you aware, as we are looking for ways to help fund the district outside of taxpayer money, so we've been successful with those. After my report is done, I'll be walking around to hand you a draft copy of the RFP for the irrigation the irrigation RFP for our fields. We were lucky enough to secure well, I believe it's $250,000 for the irrigation program. We have an RFP ready to go out, but I would like the board to review it, come back to me with any questions or recommendations, and then in January I'll be seeking approval to issue that RFP.
And I want to just clarify that money, Walton, maybe you could help with that. That was the work of yourself, working with the town council and the Board of Finance and the mayor?
Well, there was an ARPA committee, so I presented to the ARPA committee, they approved it, and then how they operated is the ARPA committee approved it, then it went to the Board of Finance for approval, and then the final approval from the town council.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm going to talk about the food service program here briefly. Different than I usually give you an update on its performance, and that's not what I'm going to talk to you about tonight. I'm going to talk to you about the CEP program, or the Community Eligibility Program. The federal government recently changed the requirement from a 40% direct certified free and reduced rate to 25%. And the state sent out an issue that the opportunity to perhaps opt in. Now, we had to complete that application by November 30th. Superintendent and I discussed the pluses and minuses of do we opt in or don't we opt in, and we felt it was in the district's best interest to opt in at this point, and then let's determine whether or not this will work. Had we not applied to opt in, we simply couldn't do it. So we did apply to opt in. The CEP program basically is a way that you can get to universal feeding, providing the free and reduced rates in the district are high enough to offset the people who normally would pay would now be free, to offset those expenses. Traditionally, you need to be somewhere between 50 and 55% to get to that break-even point. So when I look at the reduction to go to 25%, that's well and good, but if you don't have the volume of meals going through, then I'm coming to the board saying, we need money to supplement the food service. They have provided us with a new model. I have to take information from our current meal rates, and I'm trying to probably use last year's meal rates as well to see if it works for us, at which point I would come back to the board in January or February with a recommendation, whether I think we should go forward with it or not, but I want to make you aware of it. Universal feeding in the state is still a hot topic. And I think at some point, and I'm basing this only on my assumption, is we'll get there, but this is one way to get there sooner if it makes sense for us. I wouldn't come with a recommendation if I say, yeah, we can go to free, but the board now has to supplement, $200,000 to offset the cost. That doesn't make sense. So I just want to make you aware of it. And then finally, the 2024-25 budget, we are deep into the process for next year. The department head and the building administrators have provided their budget requests. Those were into me last Friday, and I've started rolling up the numbers. Brian and I have started our individual department building meetings to discuss the requests. To date, we've held 4 of the meetings, and we'll have the rest of them completed by Monday of next week. And then, as Brian already mentioned, we will be presenting the 24-25 superintendent's recommended budget to you in January. So with that, I turn it to questions for you, and I'll try to answer whatever it is that you have.
Related to the RFP,
Mm-hmm.
did you speak with DEP about the permitting?
Yes, we did speak with the DEP. We can, according to their standards, pump water from the reservoir onto the fields because the gallons that would be required don't exceed their limits. So at this point, we do have confirmation that will be okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Tenza? Mrs. Candrea Florenciano.
Got me earlier.
Today at 6:30 p.m., we had a committee meeting upstairs in the library, and we spoke about the budget update and the security grant that Mr. Tenza just followed up with.
Right. Mrs. Tilton.
Today at 6 p.m. we had a special meeting for the curriculum committee. I want to start off first by thanking Kathleen and the team for all the work they have put in, the legislation coming from the state in regards to changes to the curriculum has been tedious and ever-changing, so I commend you and your team for all of the efforts that you're putting in. I think we've narrowed some stuff down, and we're looking forward to the decision that you make that will hopefully move our children forward in the right direction. We also covered the kindergarten start date and the importance of pushing out registration for kindergarten out to the public. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, or?
We will be releasing to the public the information for how to request a waiver at the beginning of January. So if you know folks who have children who would have turned 5 or will turn 5 between September 1st and January 1st of this year, so 2024, please make sure that they check up on that so that they can get the information they need if they want to go for the waiver.
Great. Mr. Falcone, personnel report.
There's a report within your board packet. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay. All right. Item number 13, public comment. Please sign in.
Since I know that you're not going to comment on anything I say, I'm just going to read this and go forward. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Karen Colossa. I would also like to thank Mr. Falcone for calling me after the last board meeting to discuss the question I had regarding the school closing. I was told by Mr. Falcone that he had given the board all the answers to my concerns and questions, and that my concerns and questions were to help the board understand some of the issues they would face with the closing of the school. That being said, I would still like to see the answers and would have thought the chairperson at the time, Mr. Siemens at that time, understood that since I have asked twice in 2 different meetings for the answers. So I am asking again for the 3rd time to see the answers. Also, I asked about the sinking fund and what would happen if you went over, and Mr. Falcone told me that since the vote was rescinded, there is not a problem. But that would be right now. However, after the presentation, when asked about their votes, the chairperson at the time, Mr. Siemens, and several board members said they would stand by their vote, and to me, it left me the impression that once we go through all the steps you still have made up your mind and will not change it, so the question will still need to be answered. You had also stated that you will be setting up committees to review the possible closing of Harry S. Fisher School. I have not seen any action taken on that yet either. I hope the Board of Ed plans on helping with all of this, as Mr. Falcone has a full-time job and cannot be doing all of this on his own or with his staff as they are busy with our children. I would like to know what committees you are setting up and when will a survey go out as you promised. The other thing I wanted to address was that I believe it was Candace Telke at the last meeting that said how she is an expert in her field and how she believed that the administration and the board should be the experts concerning school business. I am not sure she understood that the only ones that are the experts are the administrators, not the Board of Education, as I believe that there are only a handful of board members that have any training. I do not think the past chairman, Mr. Stevens, has any education on the subject or has taken classes on how to run a Board of Education or what their responsibilities are. I also believe there are several more on the board that have not taken any training. If any of you have or have taken classes, please let us know. And the ones that have not, shame on you, as there is more to know in this board position than most other boards. You should have knowledge of what you really should be doing and what needs to be done. If you have not taken any classes or gone to any seminars, I would consider that neglect on your part. So it is a plus that you are now having training. Since our true expert is the superintendent, why didn't the board listen to this recommendation on closing the school? Once again, this follows the past chairman, Mr. Siemens, as he felt he ran the board, and I feel it was very disrespectful to our superintendent, staff, parents, and children that he did not listen to him. There is no place for egos on this board, just workers who believe in our children and their education. So I'm asking all of you to really take your job serious, because I truly believe this whole closing thing with Harry S. Fisher School was a complete disaster. You really did not really take your job seriously when you did this, because you did not include parents or
That's time.
staff. I thank you very much.
Ms. Perugino, did you sign in?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure everyone's signing in, just for the record. Thank you.
Hi, Becca Allen, 17 Megan Boulevard in Plymouth. And I also would like to thank Mr. Falcone for the phone call after last month's meeting. In regard to the stuff that's going to be those committees and the meetings that will be taking place around the Fisher closing. I know that I personally would welcome being included in conversations and committees. So if there is an opportunity for that, please let me know. And when it comes to, you did say that the meeting about the retreat is going to be public. I'm hoping that that information on the location and the time and date will be made public to us.
Yeah, it will be at the high school in the library, but that will all be posted.
Okay, thank you.
So, and I will send out, as I did for the board meeting, I will send out the agenda.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Kathy Paskus for Arrow Drive. First of all, I'd like to thank the board for their last year of work. I kept in, and the superintendent. I couldn't make the meetings because I'm on the police commission the same night, but I kept informed about what was going on. And what they have done for the school in the last couple of years is outstanding. And people are looking at one thing and closing the school. They worked with the mayor and town employees to get sidewalks replaced, presented to the ARPA committee, Board of Finance, and secured $250,000 for irrigation of the athletic fields. They obtained vaccinations through Waterbury Hospital and worked with the school staff and organized house COVID clinics. Now, I also want to say I'm on other boards and commissions in town. And the people in town, when this board looked at the closing of schools, and I looked at it myself, there is a lot of people in town that don't even have money for food. I'm on the food pantry, and we're serving more people than we ever did. 150 families, and there's families that don't come. I'm on the Rotary, and we had a fuel fund of $14,000. We had people that had no heat. We used it all. What I'm saying is, when this board looked at the closing of the school, they were looking at the whole town. And if you have only 50% of the school occupied, then the taxpayers that can't even afford food or heat are paying for the extra. And I think they were trying to look at the whole town. We want our students to have the best education possible. I had students that graduated from this high school and went to the best colleges, are doing great. So I want to thank the superintendent that attends these. He's on the food pantry with me. He knows he's always trying to help. On the Rotary, we see what's going on. So this board has been very good at what they've tried to do. Our chairman was, and I thank you for doing that.
Hi, Angela Bianca, 91 Griffin Road. I just want to say I politely disagree with that this was looked at as benefiting the town. I don't really think that was looked at all regarding the decision to close the school. And I'm open to discussion about it, but I think all of that discussion that just took place about how this was supposed to benefit the town was kind of not correct. And I even had a discussion with the mayor after the vote was made, and I was told that the Board of Ed really needs to focus on the Board of Ed and not the town really, so the decisions are supposed to be kind of separate. But if you were looking at saving money, clearly that was made very evident that closing the school and leaving a vacant building would not, but yet you couldn't know what the building would be used for in the town. So I think there wasn't a lot of thought process put into it, and it was made very hastily. That's all.
Anyone else for public comment?
Candace Telke, 82 Ridge Road. First, I want to thank you ahead of time for posting and sending the agendas. I love it. To all of the past board members, thank you for all the work you've done. To all of the newly elected board members, congratulations. I will thank you in advance for the work you will do over your term. I truly hope you will take the experiences and feedback and work together to really do some great work in our community. I would implore you to research what surrounding towns' Board of Education meeting agendas look like. Newtown, Cheshire, Bristol, all are more descriptive on what will be covered during the meetings. I would also suggest that you provide copies of previous meeting minutes at the current meeting along with the agenda. Some people may not have printers at home, and some of us print them at home, but simply forgot to grab them in the midst of our day on the way out the door. If you as a new board truly do want the public's input, then being transparent and descriptive with your agendas and meeting minutes will absolutely help with our decisions as parents and taxpayers, whether we need to attend or if we can simply send an email with our thoughts or input in advance or after the meeting minutes are posted. Overall, I would just like to ask for you to remain reflective over your term. Reflect on the promise you are making to the children in this school system when you read the mission statement you will agree to uphold. I have one more thing to add. I know you thought I was done. Just a couple comments about the energy presentation. I would first like to point out for the record that the current Fisher Elementary School is the second best according to efficiency in Mr. Sanshaw's presentation. That would not only save budget by keeping that school open. Secondly, and lastly, I'm happy we're being efficient and we are so focused on energy conservation and cost savings in this town. However, this school has been closed due to heat several times, so I guess it's a question, what would it take so we're efficient and cost saving as well as keeping our children in school, no matter what the temperature is outside? Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric Boy, 2 Magnolia Lane. I apologize for my voice. I have laryngitis. I'm still here. You got to show up for your kids, right? So my question is, when it comes to the Raptor system, what's considered a visitor in the school? Like, is it a parent picking up their child, or is somebody who has to be let in those locked doors? Does anyone know? it's somebody who has to be led in the locked doors?
We don't generally answer questions at the podium,
So,
but
I
someone will
guess-
get back to you with that.
Okay, so I guess I'd like a little bit more clarification on what a visitor is considered, because I pick my daughter up often at school, but I've never been ID'd. Granted, they know me at the office, but I'm curious as to what that actually entails, as to how that program's being used, especially, or if it's officially being used, especially since I'm assuming we're paying for it, right? Which I'm on board with, but I just want to make sure we're actually using it. If it's the people that are going into the school to actually do work, are those the ones that are being screened? I would hope so, to make sure that those people that are around our children, we know a little bit more about them, like a detail like that. Also, again, I also received a phone call from our superintendent with the last comments that I made at the last meeting. One of those comments that I had made was that seeing how the current board members that were elected at the last election sort of walked into that election and in a somewhat pompous type of way, if I don't say so myself. Those of us that have either been living here in the town for a long time and know who all of you are, like I do, because I've researched you. However, there's people who don't, and there's people that don't really know what any of you have done for us sitting on this board, whether it's been for the last 4 years or whether it's been for the last 34 years. So I would love if at one of these meetings coming up, or if you would choose not to take up the time at these meetings, I would appreciate if there was an email that was sent up, maybe with a little bio on each of you and what your accomplishments have been while you've been here, because I think that that would help all of us parents understand a little bit more as to what you have to offer to us. So I would appreciate that, and I know that I spoke with Superintendent Falcone about that last time he called me. The last thing I'd like to discuss is the surveys that most of the parents that were at the original informational closing hearing were told that we would receive. I have yet to receive a survey, so I'm not sure if it was sent out and it just got lost. But again, like I said last time that I spoke up on this podium, if there's a committee that needs to be formed in order to make that happen, I will gladly help with that. And I know that probably some other parents that I personally know would help as well. So please let us know if that needs to be done, because I think it would be informational for all of you to have some of that thought process from us to be able to utilize when you sit and try to discuss a budget and what you're going to do for us in the next coming year. Thank you.
Can I just comment on that last
Sure.
one? I just, to comment on your last piece, the surveys, the committees, we're holding off on all of that if the board agrees till after the budget is complete, probably March or April. So we're not sending anything out, nothing's been sent out, so you're not missing anything at this point. I believe Mr. Seaman sent a letter to the school community already saying we would start discussing after the holidays, but we're gonna actually push it off, address our budget first, and then kind of revisit. And that's when you'll be hearing from us with regard to
Okay.
all those additional pieces.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Absolutely.
Now that I asked, appreciate it.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay, moving on to item number 14, board liaisons. Mr. Perugino.
Yes. The Harry S. Fisher Student Council raised $355 for the Rotary Club Fuel Bank. And also grade 4 at Fisher School attended the Air Museum field trip at Bradley Field, which is very, very interesting to them. And they also made cards for the veterans and presented them on Veterans Day at Post 20 downtown here. And the next meeting is the 19th at 7 o'clock.
Great. Mr. Zabushka.
Plymouth Center School, the next week is the Winter Spirit Week, where on the 18th of December will be Grinch Day, the 19th will be Ugly Sweater Day, 20th is Snowman Day, 21st is Holiday Bling Day, and 22nd is Polar Express Day. Tomorrow, Thursday, December 14th, is the pickup for the fundraiser for Meadow Farms from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. The school store needs volunteers on January 5th, so you can contact the PTA if you're interested. And the snowflake shop at the school during school hours will be giving gifts, will be selling gifts for $1 to $5 for students who can, for Christmas shopping. And thank you, Melissa.
Mrs. Candrea Florenciani.
At the middle school, they have their winter concert coming up on the 19th. It doesn't look like they'll meet their snow date. Winter sports have started. Today they had a holiday store. I haven't been home to hear how that went yet, but I heard that the kids enjoy that. The Bulldog Cup is new for this year. The 8th graders had it for the first time of winning, and the 7th graders had it for 8th graders had it for October, November. 7th graders had it, and that's pretty much it for the middle school.
Booster Club?
Booster Club, I don't.
No, yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything for Taylorville High School as well. I'm sure that their fundraising activities are ramping up now that the new year is starting up, and they do a lot of fundraising for their safe after grad party. And I encourage anyone in town to attend their fundraisers, support their fundraisers. These are for our seniors who are graduating to have a nice, safe after grad party. As far as Ed Advance is concerned, we've received their annual report. If anyone is interested in looking at it and did not get a copy, I have one with me. I can let you borrow if you would like it. That being said as well, I would also like to say that anyone who is interested in keeping their board liaison position, please let us know. And anyone who is looking to pick up a board liaison position, my 2 board liaison positions would be up for grabs. So, anyone who's interested. And I can talk to you about whether, that's something that you are interested in doing, and let you know how much how many meetings there are and things like that. So yes, the note here in our notes, in our minutes say to let Pat know before, or let me know the choice for your board liaison position before January 10th, so that we are able to get that rolling and get that into the next agenda. All right, item number 15, board comments. Mr. Showers.
Just like to wish everybody happy holidays. Hope you enjoy the holiday, have a good time.
Mrs. Tilton.
I guess I would just like to do the same, wish everyone a happy holiday. Again, thank all of the people who have been working hard to look at our curriculum. I know it's a massive undertaking. And I would also like to say I really enjoyed and I appreciate, I think Pat might have had something to do with signing me up for the CAPE convention this year. It was very informative and it was very inspirational. So I appreciate the opportunity to attend that, and I look forward to working more on some curriculum stuff and seeing what the state comes up with next. It should be a lot of fun.
Mr. Foote.
I just like to commend the principals of the several schools for the reports that they give us every month. It's brightly colored and full of information of what our kids are doing. My wife cannot believe, both of us have been out of school for over 60 years. I can't believe what's going on in the schools, and it's just, I commend them for what they're doing.
Thank you. Mr. Zabushka.
I'd like to thank Marty Sandshaw for the great presentation that he put forth, and I'd like to wish everybody happy holidays and Merry Christmas, whichever one you prefer.
Mr. Perugino.
Yes, I'd also like to thank Marty. We started this project, 20 years ago, Marty? 14 years ago. Oh, that's, I'm getting older, yeah. And I remember our goal was at that time was 2 million. Now we're up to 3 million. I think at that time they said we should be saving 2 million. Now it's 3 million, which is wonderful, which is just great. And also, I'd like to thank Kelly and Catherine for going down to the Cape Convention. It was interesting. There was some very good workshops down there, and I recommend it next year if folks want to go down. But they also have them throughout the year, and you probably, I don't know if you get the emails, and I do get the emails from them. And they do have some great workshops, and they're up to date. But also, just before we leave, I'd like to just say one thing. We come as friends, we leave as friends. What happens in between is strictly business. Thank you. And Mr. Foot and I are the only two that are celebrating the holiday. All you rest are a bunch of Grinches. We're the only two in red. Thank you.
Mrs. Candrea Feliciani.
Same thing, just happy holidays to everyone. And I do enjoy reading the newsletters as well.
Yes. Yeah, they're excellent. Yes, I'd like to thank everybody as well for all their hard work. I'd like to thank the public who has come out and spoken to us. I appreciate it. It doesn't matter whether you have something positive or something constructive or whatever you have to say. We are interested in hearing it, and we do thank you for that. I thank the board members for always working together, even though we don't always agree. We always come together, and I really appreciate that. And happy holidays to everyone.
Could I,
Yes,
could I
of
say something?
course. You certainly may.
I didn't know, I'm in a weird position. I have 9 bosses sitting at the table with me as board members, and I didn't know how tonight would turn out. But I want to take a moment to thank our former board chair, Walter Seaman. I was sitting up here not knowing how this would turn out, so I made a list of some of the board's accomplishments under his leadership that I would like to share with everyone. And I think it's important because people come up and they ask what has been accomplished and what hasn't. But under his leadership, we put STEM programming at Plymouth Center School and at Fisher School. We've also added a tech ed program at our middle school and a family consumer science program at our middle school. We also added a library media specialist at Plymouth Center. We've added a new career center at the high school. We've added scoreboards on our softball and baseball fields here at the high school. We've redone the sidewalks here at Terryville High School. We've updated all of the board policies and shifted to shipment policies under his leadership. We've made upgrades and updates to our schools, such as painting the common areas at Eli, Terry, and Fisher. We secured approximately $250,000 for irrigation on our fields, which was desperately needed. He's navigated this board through a very difficult situation with a brand new superintendent at Plymouth Center School. That was very challenging and stressful on this board, and he navigated and helped navigate through that. We also transferred administration to different buildings, which is also another challenging and tough conversation and decision to make by this board. In the working relationship that this board now has with the town council, the board of finance, and the mayor, it is really, really remarkable. So I want to take a second and thank Walt for his volunteering and the hours that he put in as the chair of the board and all he's accomplished and helped this board accomplish. So thank you, Walt.
Thank you.
And now, since Mr. Falcone opened up that can, even though Mr. Seaman asked not to have anybody say anything, I will say as well, I've enjoyed working with you and I look forward to working with you more. And we have always worked well together and I don't foresee that changing at all.
Not at all.
Great. Our next board meeting will be on Wednesday, January 10th, 2004 at 7 p.m. in the cafeteria of Terryville High School. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion to enter into executive session to discuss a memorandum of understanding between the Plymouth Board of Education and the Plymouth Education Association, inviting Mr. Falcone, Superintendent, and Ms. Malillo, Assistant Superintendent, into executive session.
So moved. Second.
Greg and Dick, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We will enter into executive session. Okay, we are resuming regular session at 8:50 p.m. Item number 19, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Plymouth Board of Education and the Plymouth Education Association as presented in executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Walt and Pat, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:50 PM.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.